Hi everyone, Jamie Pate, and welcome to today's video, which is pretty strictly a tutorial, but with the project at the end. You know, we're here for the projects, right? I had a request to talk about this new Thinlit Sizzix die set. It's brand new from Tim Holtz. It's called Brushstroke Flowers Mini, and you can tell they are very small, very beautiful. I've used these already in a project or two, and I want to unpack how to go about it with you today. Before we get too far into our video, let's just chat a second about what you're going to need if you'd like to play along, or if this is something you might be interested in trying yourself. Of course, a die cutting machine is always helpful. This is one of a couple that I have. I love using this on my workspace when I'm in the midst of doing a lot of cutting. And this is the Spellbinders P6, comes in black. It's a great machine. I'm really happy with the results. And I'm finding as well that I don't experience a lot of warping with the cutting mats. And so I am pretty happy about that. Yeah, that's always a good thing, right? The next thing we're going to need, of course, is the dies. This is a set that includes 14 pieces. That's a lot of pieces, I know. But I really hope to unpack the mystery of this set for you. We'll come back to that in a moment, because I also want to talk about, I like to use this tonic, it's a picker. I don't know what else to call it. But I like to use this to pop dies out of, or the paper out of their dies. Also a huge fan of this jewel picker, which you're going to see this be utilized. I hope you can see that. Be utilized quite a bit in the placing of these little parts. This has two ends that are sort of rubber and sticky. I don't know how it's sticky, but it is. And it's not really sticky. It's not like it leaves a residue. So that's pretty cool. And I'm going to show you how to do this today with a smart glue. There's lots of ways to cut out your smaller die sets and then have them sticky on the back. Today I'm going to use the smart glue though. Okay, so I have sitting here on my workspace, I've already cut out several of these dies and their leaves. So let's talk about that for a moment. Now, what we're working with here is an etched die. So not only is this cutting out multiple of the leaves, but it's also leaving an embossed image that you can see there. And it's almost like a puzzle piece. This is, so we call this the first layer. And then this is the second layer, these smaller bits that kind of fit like a puzzle piece onto the first layer, or the foundation piece. We could even use that terminology as well. So what I like to do, here's a suggestion as we get going. You can see here, I've cut everything out to start. And so we're doing this like 101 today. I just want this to be just so doable. And so I'm calling this Brushstrokes 101 because I just want to talk about some real basics here. I don't want to get into anything fancy. I mean, sky's the limit on how you could work, what you could cut, how you could ink or paint or watercolor. There's just all kinds of wonderful abilities here with the set. But what I did for now is I just cut this all in green. I'm using one of my favorite paper pads. It's the Harvest Smooth Cardstock, and I just grabbed one of the greens and I pre-cut all those. Set them aside, kept them with their die. Now you can see I've also done the same thing with the flowers. So same thing. We have a set of flowers all on one die and also etched, also with a foundation piece, and then with the second piece that goes on top. And I've done the same thing. I've cut them out and I've kind of kept the pieces with the die. Now, something I did not do, I did not cut out these two. And you're asking, why didn't you cut these two out? Because they're really small. And I just, personal preference, these are pretty small already. I didn't want to work with even smaller ones. So I didn't cut them. They're set to the side. They're set aside. Now there's two other cuts in here. It's one die, but it's two other cuts. Now, I think they can be layered one on top of the other for that whole brush strokes or that painted additional layer. And this does work really well as well. If your foundation piece is one color and then your layered piece is a lighter color, that's a cool way to do this. Not doing that today. But I actually like to use these two pieces separate. I don't layer them. Again, personal preference. It's one way to make the dies go a little bit farther, right? Now, I don't think it's necessary for me to go through each and every die set that we have here. What I am going to do, though, is take you through this leaf set right here and talk through how I'm going about placing the pieces. Here we go. So I am just kind of fiddling around here for a second with this first leaf that we are going to layer. And as I have kind of sort of explained a little bit, it's just glue. Try not to get too much glue, which is like my own little personal challenge here. Just adding glue to where the second layer is going to be applied. Now with this smart glue, a little does go a long way, so you really don't have to add as much glue as I did. So use me as an example of what not to do. Secondly, the glue will dry clear. So if you do have some glue that's showing, which there is there, it will dry clear and you won't see it. It'll be beautiful. And this is a matter of gluing and repeat. So figure out where, like there's like a squiggle there, right? And you can see the squiggle there on the table. And so I'm just going to fill in the glue here for this squiggle. Again, probably too much glue. And pop that on there with my picker. And then I kind of sort of tend to sort of mess with it for a minute. Just kind of what I do. I just need to kind of place it maybe and move on. But, you know, the perfectionist in me does sort of come to the surface. But we'll talk about that in a minute, about perfectionism and creativity. And then the last little piece there goes on the second leaf. And so we're just going to continue to see this is how you're going to be doing all the leaves as well as all the blooms. And we'll be getting to the bloom here momentarily. Now, I really did kind of fiddle with this a whole bunch. And so I am still kind of just making sure it is where I like it. Now, I have a little bit of glue on my picker, and so I'm pulling that off. You don't want glue to be on that picker because then, like right there, it won't pick up. And so I'll need to clean that when I'm all done here. But that's how our first leaf bundle looks. And now the first bloom that we're going to work on here is one of the larger ones. Just to kind of get you an idea, there's 3 pieces to this bloom. And I like to refer to the packaging actually pretty often. And so packages are nice. Don't be afraid to go and look and see, oh, yeah, that looks right. And so when I put the middle part in, of course, I may have already said it should be another color, right? But we're here for it. We're here for the monochromatic. So now this is kind of an easier bloom to put together because it is larger. It's over 1 inch in width, probably one of the largest flowers in this set. So we'll do a little bit more difficult one, but this is just, you know, like your great primer for how to put one of the flowers together and just lining all the pieces up, pretend it's a little puzzle, just enjoying the process, right? Just kind of add this to maybe some creative play of just putting these pieces together. And then when you get comfortable with them, that's when another layer of fun can come in, whether you're using different cardstocks, maybe different patterns, maybe you're using some ink to add color, making, you know, maybe cutting them out from watercolor paper and then adding ink to them. And that's our first bloom. And then tuck a leaf in with it. And even that is such a simple little sweet embellishment. Yeah, I get a little geeky about these. I don't know. I just love beautiful things and that we can make them. So I'm just showing you there. This one's a bit more complicated. This one has 5 pieces. Yes. But the 2 flowers are connected. So that's kind of fun. So it's just a matter of grabbing the lower piece, and I'm going to fiddle around big time here with where the layered piece is supposed to end up because I just couldn't see it. And so I thought, well, I'll just sit it here. I'll turn it. And then in a few little seconds here, I'm like, oh, I see it. I totally see it. And the same thing's going to happen for you too. And then you're just going to get used to the fact that I know what piece this is and I know where it goes after practicing the idea over and over again. So gonna glue and adhere, repeat. We're gluing, we're adhering, we're repeating. Doesn't matter where the little middles go. If you get the big one on the small flower or the small one on the big flower, it's all good. It is just so all good. So it's interesting because, you know, at first to look at the mini version of the brushstroke die idea, it's a little intimidating, right? Like, wow, that's so complex. There's so many pieces. And I guess, yes, if you're just at first looking at it, but then when you start to work with them, I mean, it really is easy and simple. And easy might not be the right word, maybe simple. It really is simple. We're doing the same thing over and over again. And it's just an opportunity just to make and have fun. And these are the moments where I like to make up a whole bunch of these at one time, turn on a favorite playlist, just kind of commune with the paper. So this one is almost all put together. And of course, the last part there is the two middles. So I'm just grabbing the bigger one, just kind of sits in there wherever. There's not, I don't know, there might be, now that I'm thinking about it, there might be an embossed space to show where that belongs, but it looks great, right? It just looks great. And you put a couple of them together, you start getting that layering going, and you add in some of the leaves, and it's just pretty stuff. Oh, and then one of the branches that we're not layering, right? It's just so much fun. Look how pretty it looks just right at this point in the make. As I finish these up, and you saw how I did the first couple of these, you saw how I'm not gonna layer my little branches. And you see how these are all now connected. A couple things I wanna say. You can't be perfectionist about this, and I can say that because this girl was born a perfectionist. I'm a firstborn after all. And we just kind of come equipped with having the need for things to be a certain way. And you can't go about this with that. You just got to go about this with the fact that it's going to be pretty. And that's our focus here, is to just make some pretty flowers and enjoy. So I just felt that was important to put that caveat. I mean, being creatives, we can't really hang on to perfectionism too much anyway. And we've talked about that here on this channel before. And I'll talk about it again because I hear about it pretty often and I struggle with it still myself. That is not the way that goes on there. I mean, there's a way to do something and not do something, right? I mean, you got to at least get the flower on there. But the thing is, as you work with these little mini dies, the more you're going to become familiar with the flower, and the faster you get with this. That's my whole theory on practice doesn't make perfect, because we're not trying to get perfect. Practice does, though, indeed create better. You'll get better at it. And so you saw how these are just very monochromatic. These are very simply done. And then now let's finish this up with a project. To wrap this up, I have cut a grateful tag from I think it's called the Gratitude Stamp and Die Set from ScrapbookCom. Brand new, I've used it a couple times on here, but this is one of the dies that goes with that stamp set. And this is where Tim Holtz says you just get to be your own florist. You just get to layer the parts and pieces onto whatever your surface is that you're wanting to embellish with these lovely brushstroke flowers. Now, I actually only grabbed 3 of the dies, and you saw I put 2 of them on the tag with the smart glue. This third piece, I am going to elevate it with a piece of double stick foam tape, and just kind of deciding, I mean, this is in real time, just deciding where something goes, not really giving it too much thought. I mean, we could go wide across this tag. We could go much more vertical. I just kind of went with however the flowers fell into place, honestly. And same with the leaves. Just kind of find a place where you think it'll go and add glue. I'm only adding glue just to the lower portion. I do not want my leaves to be flat on my tag. I want there to be lift. And you'll see at some point where I go in and I sort of pull up on a couple of tags for that very reason. I don't want them just sticking out straight. I want to give them a little bit more of a leaf appeal, you know, because leaves aren't necessarily flat, even on a tree or a bunch of flowers. So this one here, I go in with a little tool and hold it where it's glued in place while I pull up on it. And it seemed to stay for me. Then I wanted to grab the other smaller single leaf and tuck it underneath that leaf that I just put in place there. And ideally, I would have a whole lot of the greenery already cut. I wanted to keep this, though, just one pass of these dies. There's nothing doubled here. So look what a great embellishment cluster you can get with just one pass of all the leaves and a couple of the flowers. And just how much larger you could make this, obviously, the more you cut. So I am trying to figure out where this leaf goes. And this one's going to appear a little more flat. And then we're going to finish it up with both the branches that I love so dearly. And then you'll see at the end, I've just put a little piece of ribbon through that little heart portion of the tag, and it's ready to be wrapped around anything: a candy bar, a card, a gift, a vase of flowers, and be given away. And that's, I do hope you will make with these items and elements, and that you'll give your love away by virtue of the things you make. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.